On a cold night in New York City, Jamal huddled in a cardboard box on a busy street corner. He watched the hurried lives of New Yorkers passing by, their faces illuminated by the harsh glow of streetlights. Jamal's mind wandered to his lost dreams and the daily struggle for survival. The cardboard walls did little to shield him from the biting wind, a stark reminder of his current situation. As the night wore on, a commotion caught Jamal's attention. Sarah, a well-dressed woman, was leaving a charity gala when a masked assailant attempted to steal her purse. Without hesitation, Jamal sprang into action. He rushed towards the scene, his heart pounding in his chest. The attacker, startled by Jamal's sudden appearance, loosened his grip on Sarah's purse. Jamal managed to push the assailant away, causing him to stumble and lose balance. Sarah, still in shock, clutched her purse tightly to her chest. The would-be thief, realizing he was outmatched, quickly fled the scene, disappearing into the shadows of a nearby alley. However, the situation took an unexpected turn. As Jamal turned to check on Sarah, he saw fear in her eyes. Instead of gratitude, she recoiled from him, her expression a mix of terror and disgust. Before Jamal could explain, Sarah's panicked voice cut through the night air, screaming for help. Within minutes, police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder as they approached. As the police cars screeched to a halt, Sarah, still trembling, pointed at Jamal. Her voice shook as she accused him of being the aggressor, completely disregarding his heroic act. The real attacker had long since vanished, leaving Jamal to face the consequences of Sarah's misplaced fear and prejudice. The story of Jamal's heroic act and Sarah's reaction spread rapidly through media channels. Local news outlets picked up the story, initially reporting on a foiled robbery attempt. However, as more details emerged, the narrative became complex and contentious. Television broadcasts showed grainy security camera footage of the incident, sparking heated debates about racial profiling and societal prejudices. Social media platforms buzzed with conflicting opinions, some praising Jamal's bravery while others questioned his motives. Daniel, a local reporter, watched a live broadcast about the incident from his small apartment. The conflicting accounts and underlying social issues piqued his interest. He felt compelled to dig deeper into Jamal's story, sensing there was more beneath the surface than the initial reports suggested. Determined to uncover the truth, Daniel hit the streets. He interviewed several homeless individuals who spoke candidly about the discrimination they face daily. Many shared stories of being ignored, mistreated, or unfairly judged based on their appearance or living situation. These interviews added a new dimension to the story, highlighting the tension between two narratives: the heroic act of a homeless man and the deep-seated prejudices that led to his mistreatment. Daniel's investigation began to paint a picture of a society grappling with its own biases and misconceptions. As the story gained traction, it sparked wider discussions about homelessness, racial bias, and social inequality. News channels invited experts to discuss the societal implications of the incident. The story of Jamal and Sarah became a focal point for a larger conversation about the treatment of marginalized communities and the need for greater empathy and understanding in society. Sarah found herself caught in a whirlwind of pressure and conflicting emotions. Her influential friends urged her to maintain the narrative that Jamal was a criminal, citing concerns about her public image and potential legal implications. Despite their insistence, Sarah began to question her initial reaction and deeply held beliefs. She replayed the incident in her mind, trying to reconcile her fear with the reality of Jamal's actions. The cognitive dissonance caused her significant distress, but she struggled to overcome years of ingrained prejudices. Sarah's internal conflict manifested in sleepless nights and distracted days at work. Meanwhile, Jamal sought refuge at a local shelter. The events of that night had left him shaken and disillusioned. At the shelter, he encountered a support group for homeless individuals, where he found a sense of community and understanding. As he shared his story, others in the group offered words of encouragement and shared similar experiences of prejudice and misunderstanding. During one of these group sessions, Jamal opened up about his aspirations. He spoke of his desire to return to school and find stable employment. These dreams, long buried under the weight of daily survival, began to resurface. The support from his new friends at the shelter rekindled a spark of hope in Jamal. One particular conversation with a fellow shelter resident named Mike proved especially impactful. Mike, a former teacher who had fallen on hard times, listened intently to Jamal's story. He encouraged Jamal not to let this incident define him and to use it as motivation to pursue his goals. This conversation reinforced Jamal's determination to overcome his current circumstances and fight for his dignity. As Jamal's story went viral, he faced increasing hostility on the streets. People who recognized him from news reports often reacted with suspicion or outright aggression. Some hurled insults or made threatening gestures, while others crossed the street to avoid him. Despite these challenges, Jamal tried to maintain his composure and focus on survival. The media attention brought unexpected difficulties. Jamal found it harder to find quiet spots to rest or panhandle without being recognized. The constant scrutiny wore on him, making his already difficult life even more challenging. Yet, he remained determined not to let these new obstacles break his spirit. Sarah, meanwhile, received an invitation to speak at a conference on social inequality. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on her. As she prepared for the event, she found herself unable to concentrate, her mind constantly returning to the incident with Jamal. She avoided thinking about him directly, instead burying herself in work and social obligations. Daniel, the reporter, decided to write an in-depth investigative article about Jamal's life. He spent days researching the challenges faced by homeless individuals in New York City. His investigation revealed systemic issues that contributed to homelessness, including lack of affordable housing, inadequate mental health services, and discriminatory practices in employment and housing. As Daniel delved deeper, he uncovered Jamal's background, a former factory worker who lost his job due to automation and subsequently his home due to medical debt. This information added layers of complexity to the story, challenging readers to confront their preconceptions about homelessness. The article, when published, sparked intense debate. It forced many to confront uncomfortable truths about social inequality and the dehumanization of homeless individuals. For Jamal, it meant even more attention, both positive and negative, as he became an unwitting symbol in a larger social debate. One afternoon, Sarah was jogging through Central Park, lost in thought about her upcoming conference. She passed by a bench where Jamal sat, but her mind was elsewhere. She didn't notice him, but Jamal recognized her immediately. He felt a sharp pang of hurt as Sarah ran past, oblivious to his presence. This moment of invisibility reinforced the pain of societal neglect he experienced daily. During one of Daniel's interviews for his ongoing investigation, he spoke with a homeless man named Tom. Tom revealed that Jamal was well known and respected within their community. He shared stories of Jamal's kindness, how he often shared his meager resources with others in need and offered words of encouragement to those struggling. This information directly contradicted Sarah's negative portrayal of Jamal, adding another layer to the complex narrative. As Daniel's article gained traction, Jamal's story became a rallying point for advocates of homeless rights. Local activists organized protests against discrimination and pushed for better support systems. Jamal, initially reluctant to be in the spotlight, began to see how his experience could help others. He started attending community meetings, sharing his story, and advocating for change. This newfound purpose gave Jamal strength. Despite the continued challenges he faced on the streets, he felt a growing sense of empowerment. His voice, once ignored, was now being heard. People in similar situations looked up to him, and he felt a responsibility to represent their struggles accurately. The media attention surrounding Jamal's case prompted discussions about racial bias and homelessness in community forums and on social media. While some comments were negative, many expressed support for Jamal and called for systemic changes. This groundswell of support encouraged Jamal to continue speaking out, despite the personal toll it took on him. As the conference on social inequality approached, Sarah found herself increasingly uncomfortable with her role in the unfolding events. Forced to confront her beliefs, she began to reflect on her life and the superficiality of many of her relationships. Guilt started to gnaw at her conscience, making it difficult to maintain her usual social facade. During a private dinner with her closest friend, Mark, Sarah finally opened up about her inner turmoil. She confessed her growing doubts about her initial reaction to Jamal and the subsequent media storm. Mark listened patiently as Sarah voiced her insecurities and fears. She admitted feeling trapped between her public image and her emerging understanding of the situation's complexity. Sarah's conversation with Mark marked a turning point. For the first time, she verbalized her conflicted feelings about Jamal and the broader issues of homelessness and racial bias. This act of honesty, though difficult, was the first step in her journey towards self-reflection and change. At the conference on inequality, Sarah listened to speakers sharing stories of marginalization and struggle. One presenter discussed the challenges faced by homeless individuals, including the story of a man who closely resembled Jamal's situation. The parallels were unmistakable, and Sarah found herself deeply moved. As she heard these accounts, Sarah's perspective began to shift. The statistics and personal narratives presented at the conference brought home the reality of social inequality in a way she had never before considered. She realized how sheltered her life had been and how little she understood about the experiences of those less fortunate. By the end of the conference, Sarah felt a profound sense of unease with her past actions and beliefs. She knew she could no longer ignore the truth about Jamal and the larger societal issues at play. This realization marked the beginning of a significant personal transformation for Sarah. Following the conference, Sarah made a decision that would change the course of events. She resolved to find Jamal and apologize for her actions. Her search led her to discover that Jamal was now actively involved with a support group, helping to organize a community action for homeless individuals. Sarah reached out through the organization, requesting a meeting with Jamal. When he received the message, Jamal was skeptical and hesitant. The memory of their last encounter and its aftermath still weighed heavily on him. However, after much deliberation and encouragement from his friends at the shelter, Jamal decided to give Sarah a chance to speak. They agreed to meet at a neutral location, a small cafe near the park where their paths had first crossed. The atmosphere was tense as they sat across from each other, both unsure of how to begin. Sarah, visibly nervous, started by offering a sincere apology for her actions on that fateful night and the subsequent events that unfolded. Jamal listened quietly, his face a mask of carefully controlled emotion. As Sarah spoke, he could see the genuine remorse in her eyes. When it was his turn to speak, Jamal shared his perspective on the incident and the challenges he had faced since then. Their conversation was difficult and at times uncomfortable. They discussed their initial perceptions of each other and how those views had been shaped by societal prejudices. Sarah admitted to her privileged blindness, while Jamal spoke of the daily struggles and discrimination he faced. As they continued to talk, the initial tension began to ease. They found common ground in their desire for change and understanding. By the end of their meeting, while not friends, they had established a tentative connection based on mutual respect and a shared commitment to addressing the issues that had brought them together. In the weeks following their initial meeting, Jamal and Sarah's unlikely connection began to strengthen. They met regularly, each encounter bridging the vast gap between their worlds. Jamal shared his experiences of life on the streets, opening Sarah's eyes to the harsh realities faced by homeless individuals daily. His stories of resilience and community among those often overlooked by society deeply impacted Sarah. In turn, Sarah offered insights into the world of privilege she inhabited. She spoke candidly about the pressures and expectations that had shaped her initial reaction to Jamal. These conversations were often challenging, forcing both to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and society. Inspired by their growing understanding, Sarah decided to use her influence for positive change. She began developing a project aimed at rehabilitation and social inclusion for homeless individuals. She consulted Jamal at every step, valuing his firsthand experience and insights. Together, they worked on creating opportunities for job training, housing assistance, and mental health support. Jamal's involvement in the project reignited his sense of purpose. He found himself reconnecting with skills from his past and developing new ones. His confidence grew as he saw the tangible impact of their work on others in similar situations. For the first time in years, Jamal felt he was part of something larger than his daily struggle for survival. The project faced its share of challenges and setbacks. Sarah encountered resistance from some of her peers who didn't understand her newfound passion. Jamal struggled with self-doubt and the ingrained habits of survival that were hard to shake. However, their shared commitment to the cause and the support they found in each other helped them push through these obstacles. As their project gained traction, both Jamal and Sarah found themselves transformed by the experience. Their unlikely partnership became a powerful example of what could be achieved when barriers of class and race were overcome by empathy and shared purpose. As Sarah and Jamal's project gained momentum, an unexpected threat emerged from the shadows of their past. The thief who had initially attacked Sarah resurfaced, posing a serious risk to everything they had built. This man, identified as Alex, had been following the media coverage of their story and saw an opportunity for personal gain. Alex approached Sarah when she was alone, threatening to expose what he claimed was the true story of that night. He implied that he had evidence that could damage both Sarah's reputation and Jamal's newfound stability. His demands were clear: a substantial sum of money in exchange for his silence. Shaken by the encounter, Sarah hesitated to tell Jamal, fearing it would disrupt the fragile trust they had built. However, she realized that keeping this secret could potentially cause more harm. When she finally confided in Jamal, his reaction surprised her. Instead of anger or fear, he showed resolve and a determination to face this challenge head-on. The situation became more complex when Alex began making veiled threats about their friendship, suggesting he could twist their story in the media to make it appear scandalous or exploitative. This added pressure threatened to strain Sarah and Jamal's relationship, testing the strength of their newly formed bond. Recognizing the severity of the situation, Daniel, the reporter who had been following their story, offered his help. He proposed using his investigative skills to uncover any information that could neutralize Alex's threats. The three of them, Sarah, Jamal, and Daniel, formed an unlikely alliance to confront this new challenge. As they worked together to gather information and strategize, the pressure intensified. Alex's threats became more frequent and aggressive, pushing them to act quickly. The situation forced them to confront not only the immediate threat, but also lingering doubts and insecurities about their relationship and the project they had built together. As the confrontation with Alex reached its climax, an unexpected revelation turned the tables. During a tense meeting arranged to address Alex's threats, Jamal suddenly spoke up, revealing information that caught everyone off guard. Jamal disclosed that he had recognized Alex from his time on the streets. He had witnessed Alex involved in a network of petty crimes and had crucial information that could implicate him in several unsolved cases. This knowledge, which Jamal had kept to himself out of fear and a desire to leave his past behind, now became their strongest weapon against Alex's extortion attempts. Realizing he had severely underestimated Jamal, Alex panicked. In a desperate move, he attempted to physically attack Jamal, but Daniel quickly intervened. The commotion attracted nearby police officers, who had been discreetly monitoring the situation at Daniel's request. As the police arrived, Alex was apprehended. The evidence provided by Jamal, combined with Daniel's investigative work, was enough to ensure Alex would face serious charges. This turn of events not only neutralized the immediate threat, but also finally vindicated Jamal in the eyes of the law and the public. In the aftermath, Sarah used her influence to secure Jamal a position within their social outreach program. This opportunity marked a new beginning for Jamal, offering him a chance to rebuild his life while continuing to help others in similar situations. Daniel wrote a comprehensive article detailing the entire saga, from the initial misunderstanding to the final resolution. His piece highlighted the importance of challenging preconceptions and the power of empathy in bridging societal divides. The story concluded with Jamal starting his new job, symbolizing a personal triumph over adversity and prejudice. Sarah, transformed by the experience, committed to expanding their project, determined to create more opportunities for those marginalized by society. Their journey, marked by conflict and redemption, became a powerful narrative about the possibility of change and the strength found in unexpected alliances.